When it comes to starting out with colour pencils, a really common misconception is that you need lots of pencils, a really big pencil set, in order to create anything realistic. So in today's video, I'm going to ditch my large pencil set and create a piece of artwork with only 3 colours and 5 pencils to see if it can be done. Hey everybody, my name is Kirsty and my aim is to help you improve your art skills so that you can create artwork that you are proud of. And today we are just going to be using our red, yellow and blue as well as black and white to create artwork and see if it can be done. So let's get started. I've only got the primaries available, so the red, yellow and blue, which means that I need to use these to make all of the other secondary colours and different sort of values and shades of each colour. So I wanted to just start out by experimenting with the colours that I have got to see whether I can make these other colours that I need. I started off by just trying to create orange first with yellow and red, and I used the white and black to try and create lighter versions of orange and then darker shades of orange to see if I can easily create that sort of variation in value of each of the different hues that I was creating. And I was really surprised at how easy it was to create all of the different colours that I needed. Now I'm going to move on to creating green, so that is with yellow and blue. I started off with a layer of the yellow and then added the blue on top and then kept sort of repeating those 2 layers until I was really happy with the colour that I had, which is a big tip that I have when you're trying to create your own colours, is to do multiple layers and just keep layering until you get the colour you need. And then once again, I added the white to make lighter green and then the black to create a darker green. For the white, instead of the polychromos white, which I find is quite translucent, I actually decided to use the Caran d'Ache white instead, as it's a bit more creamy and opaque. And finally, the last secondary colour that I needed to make was purple, and that is done by mixing red and blue. And I just alternate the layers, and I do fairly even applications of each colour when creating these secondaries. Adding the white, I was able to get a really nice light purple, and if I wanted more of a reddy purple, I could add more red, or if I wanted it to be more cool toned, more of a bluey purple, then I could have added in more layers of the blue. So you really can create every different sort of hue and tint and shade that you need just by varying the amount of each colour that you use. I also just did a couple of other little tests, just seeing the range of values I can get from the white and black and how I could mix them and layer them to get all of the different grey tones that I might need. And a little tip that I have for you guys is if you add grey to your colours, you can actually dull them down and desaturate them a bit. So if your colours look a bit too vibrant, adding some grey will really help to mute those colours. Or to mute a colour, you can use the colours complementary, which is the colour opposite it on the colour wheel. So the opposite of green on the colour wheel is red. So if you add a layer of red and then more of the yellow and blue, then you can create a duller and often darker version of the colour that you're trying to create. If you add more of the complementary colour, like more red, then it will become even more desaturated. As well as the secondary colours, another colour that I use a lot for my drawings is brown, and obviously I don't have a brown available. Brown is kind of like a dark orange, so I'm going to mix yellow and red with black to try and create a brown tone that could work for my drawings, a makeshift brown. You can start to see now that you really can create any colour that you want from just a few basic colours. And to make sure that you're making the most out of the colours you have, I recommend downloading my free guide that I just created on picking and mixing the perfect colours. This guide is all about showing you how you can make any colour you want from just the basic colours that you'll all have available to you. After reading the guide, you will be able to look at a colour in your reference and know exactly what colours you need to layer together in order to create it yourself. I'll leave a link at the top of the description or in a card up above. Now that I've tested out the colours and sort of got an idea for how I can create each colour that I might need, I'm going to jump into trying to do a full drawing with only these 5 pencils. And I wanted to pick something that would be very colourful, that would allow me to really practice making lots of different colours. So I found a reference of a ring that had different coloured gemstones. And I thought this would be a really great way to just have a real good challenge, because obviously gemstones have a lot of highlights and shadows and different shades of the colours. So it was a real challenge and I was really excited to do this because I've not really done anything like this before with just the primary colours. So I really enjoyed it. I started off by trying to create the gold colour, and I knew it was quite like a desaturated yellow. So what I did was I mixed yellow and red to create more of a yellowy orange, and then I darkened it up a bit with the black, which sort of desaturated it a bit and made it look a little bit more natural. And then I just used the white to brighten up the highlights and then a bit more of the black for the shadows. For the shadow that the ring is casting, I just used black and white, and I'm using toned paper, which I really love because I like the fact that white pencil shows up really well on it. So I feel like it's really useful for getting that 3D effect to a drawing. Now I'm going through all of the little bits of metal in between the jewels, and I'm just adding the little shadows with the black pencil first. One tip that I have, if you try this yourself, is that when you do use black to darken up a colour, make sure that your last layer isn't just black, otherwise it will look very unrealistic. So if I add black to darken up a colour, I always make sure that I do a layer over the top of the black with the colours that I've used before. Moving on to the jewels, I'm starting off with the red gemstone, and I just did a base layer of the red first and then used the black to create all of the darker red values, so getting all of the shadows, and then used the white to create any lighter values, so the highlights within the gemstones or any areas that just needed to go a bit lighter. And that sort of was my whole strategy for the whole of this drawing, just sort of doing the base colour for each area and then using the black to darken up the shadows and the white to brighten up the highlights. Normally I wouldn't do it this way if I had all of my colours available to me. I try to avoid black where I can. I use darker browns instead, or any other colour that's dark to darken up my base tone. I try to limit the amount of black I use, but it still got the job done in this case, and it still created a nice looking drawing. Moving on to the green gemstones now, I started with a layer of the yellow, and then yellow and blue make green, so I added a layer of blue, and I keep alternating them until all of the layers meshed together and gave me that green colour that I wanted. I was actually really pleasantly surprised when I was doing this drawing. I really wasn't sure what to expect when I decided to do this challenge. I thought it could easily end up a complete disaster, but I was really happy with how this drawing turned out. And it was a lot easier than I expected to create something that looked realistic, where the colours were realistic, with just these 5 pencils. And I think it really goes to show that you don't need many pencils at all. In fact, you only need 5 of the most basic pencils to create pretty much any drawing that you want. And of course it is a bit more challenging because you have to layer multiple colours to get simple colours like green or purple. But it is still possible, so definitely don't let your supplies limit you. If you can't afford a massive set of pencils, you really don't need it, as this goes to show you can make great artwork with just some basic colours if you put your mind to it and you're willing to be patient and layer those different colours together until you get the colours that you need.
And in fact, doing this challenge, which I really recommend you guys trying out, doing this challenge gives you a much bigger understanding of how colours work together, and you get to understand colours more and understand the theory behind how they work together to get the different values and hues, which will help you and make you a better artist, which will help you with your future colour pencil drawings when you do have more colours available. It will become easier then to identify what type of colours you need. I'm just working on the purple gemstone, and I used the red and blue to create the base colour for this, and then I added a layer of white to sort of lighten it up and make it a bit more vibrant. It was very dark and dull, and then I added a bit of red in certain areas just to make it look a little more interesting. And I'm doing the exact same thing with the other purple gemstone. Adding the white gives it a really nice sort of lilac lavender colour, and then I work in the black in between those highlights to create the shadows for the gemstone. And then the last two gemstones that I've got to create are like a ambery yellow colour. So I add a big base layer of yellow first, and then some of the red, especially in the shadowed areas. I added a lot more of the red. I didn't use a lot of the red for the highlighted areas because they tended to be more yellow anyway, so I just let that yellow shine through. But anywhere where I wanted it to be a bit more orangey, I added the red, and then I dulled it down, made it a little less harsh and intense and vibrant. I used the black to desaturate it a bit and darken up those values. I even used the black within the white just to desaturate it. Grey is a great way to mute colours and make tones of different hues. If you aren't too sure what I mean when I say hues and shades and tones and tints and all of those words, then I do recommend checking out that guide, because I go through all of this, all of the colour theory principles that you need to know for colour pencil drawings. I talk through it all in the guide in a lot of detail. So if you want to see how I was able to create a drawing like this with only those few colours, then the guide will tell you everything you need to know. It'll be in so much more detail than this video. It's a 20-page PDF which goes through everything. But here you can see the finished drawing. I was really happy with how this turned out. Let me know what you think, and if you try this challenge yourself, let me know how you get on with it.
But that is it for today's video. Remember to check out the free guide so that you can learn how to create any colour you want with just a few basic colours, and I'll see you in the next video.